Now, I'm fully aware that Twitter is not the place for educated football conversations, but sometimes it's good to go through some of the misconceptions about players and teams. Now, recently there's been a lot of discussion about Saka and Foden and which one is better and if they are world class. And without a doubt, in my opinion, Bukayo Saka is a world class winger and one of the best players in the world, and in this video I'm going to prove that to you. Now, first of all, a lot of people have different ways which they inherit world-class players. Some people think it's the best 5, best 3 in your position, and some people think it's just a select few that are that good in the world. Now, I don't necessarily think it's 3 per each position. To me, it is just a select few of people that could be in loads of different positions. Just because there's loads of good left wingers and you're amazing doesn't mean you're not as good as someone else who plays in a not as strong position right now. But for me, a world-class player is someone that you could say is one of the leading players in their league or their country at what they do. Someone who could be the face of something and is a very good player that could immediately elevate any team that they go to. And to me, Bukayo Saka is one of the easiest players you can put in that conversation because in my mind he is Arsenal's best player. I don't necessarily think he might be the most important player for the team, but he is definitely the best player. He is that star that can win you games and can dominate opponents. Not only that, I think if you don't consider Arsenal as one of the better teams in Europe and in England, I think that is quite frankly wrong. Arsenal came second last season and completely deserved it and were even arguably should have won the league. And this year they have not fell off like people expected them to. They're still in the conversation. They're still very much one of the best teams and they dominated their Champions League group with ease. They have many brilliant players wanting to come to the club every year, and even people like Declan Rice are choosing them over the likes of Manchester City because they see the project and see where their club are at now. And despite all the great players that Arsenal have, people like William Saliba are a real leader of the young defenders in the world. Bukayo Saka, in my mind, is still the key player for the club, and being the key player for one of the best teams in Europe or in England, the best league in the world, then you've got to be considered world class. And the impact he has on the team is so vital for the success of the club. And I've seen so many arguments that people are using face value or when we watch Saka he's not that good, but that is just stupid. Some people want to use statistics like goals and assists to defend their arguments, and then some people don't at other points. Because Saka's goals and assists are very high and very good, I mean they're even higher than Cristiano Ronaldo's at the same age. People want to discredit him because they don't think he's that flashy on the ball. He gets the job done, he's a brilliant player, but you don't need to be a brilliant star technically to be a great footballer. That's never been the case. The output is always the way. I mean, Haaland is not a technically brilliant player, but his output and his clinicalness and his ruthlessness is most important, and that's the same with Saka. And I'm not someone that necessarily uses goals and assists. I use predictable goals and assists and where they should be at, and sometimes you can't do that because there might be bad finishing or whatever, but Saka is doing everything at a brilliant level. He really carries Arsenal. He had the most touches in the final third out of any attacker in the Premier League and gets the ball all the time. And even when 2 or 3 players are on him and in a deep block, this season he's managed to get 10 goals and 7 assists in the Premier League, which is more than players like Cole Palmer, who everyone says is an amazing player and is having a brilliant season, and Cole Palmer's got a lot more penalties than him as well. And the only reason why these conversations started is because Foden got a hat-trick against Brentford. Brilliant game for him, and I think Phil Foden is a wonderful player. I would also consider him as a world-class player. He just plays for an elite team that use him in weird ways. And then Rio Ferdinand comes out saying that Saka's not as good. Doesn't make any sense. You look at the statistics, he clearly is. You look at the ability, he clearly is. And you look at what he's done for England, you look at what he's done for Arsenal, clearly is way more than Phil Foden has in his career at this point. And yes, Phil Foden has won stuff, but you can't consider titles when you're playing for one of the best teams ever as a key part of that, especially when Phil Foden isn't a main member of that team. And if he left, I don't think it'd make any difference to them winning trophies. Saka at 19 was carrying Arsenal through tough times, and everyone was like, well, Arsenal aren't very good. Now Arsenal are good, and he is still probably our best player and best outputter and best goal scorer. He's now suddenly not good enough, or he hasn't done it in the Champions League, when the group stage he found it very easy to, and I don't really think that makes any difference. Done it in World Cups, he's done it for England, he has been insane every single time he gets on the pitch. He's also a model citizen, he's done nothing wrong to everyone. He goes about his way in a very respectful manner, and he is loved by everyone at Arsenal, but just because he's an Arsenal player, he's hated by so many of the output of other people. I never understand this because I really don't distaste people that are great people for other teams. For instance, Son Heung-min, I like Son Heung-min, I think he's a brilliant player and he's a great person. I'm an Arsenal fan, I have no to him the fact he plays for Tottenham. I obviously don't want him to score and do that well every week, but I really don't care about him as a player in a bad way. I also think if Arsenal played in different ways, you would be able to see Saka a lot more. I think if he played for Liverpool, who often press really tensely and get the ball quite high up, what Arsenal have been doing recently, you would see a bigger output and bigger performances by him. Saka honestly has the ability to drill past half a team and score, and he has done loads of times, so I don't really understand why people say he's a boring player. With just how everyone plays against Arsenal, he has to be careful with the ball and has has to hold it up sometimes, doing a deeper cross. And I've done a video so similar to this before where I said he deserves more respect, and I know Arsenal fans obviously love him. He is literally the star boy. He's probably the player that we all like the most. Outside the community, we need some respect. He needs to get some respect by the outer world of football because he's insane. People were comparing him to people like Kvaratskhelia, who of course won the league with Napoli and was brilliant, but he wasn't the main man for Napoli that season, and since then he's been mid at best. There needs to be more respect on Bukayo Saka because he's doing it in the hardest league at the age of 22 and now has 100 goal contributions for the club and over 50 goals, which is just insane numbers. That is elite level. And Saka to me is one of the best players I've ever seen represent Arsenal. Coming through the academy, I think he's one of the best and probably has the biggest potential ever of anyone from our academy. He is really that good at an elite level for an elite team. And the thing is, if Arsenal do drop off, we have to consider the fact that he may leave because he is that good and deserves a lot higher level. He deserves to be at the top of the Champions League, the Premier League and any European title. And maybe if he did leave Arsenal, he'd probably get more respect. I think it's disrespectful that there is so much of the media and there's so much of negativity towards Saka who's never done anything wrong. I can understand fans, you know, what they're like, being a bit disrespectful to players of other teams, but I shouldn't expect this by Rio Ferdinand and other people who clearly don't even watch him every week to make a judgment. And there needs to be a stop the comparison between him and Foden. Foden is another brilliant player and has won a lot in his career at a young age, but for England, Saka plays because Foden isn't really a winger and plays more in the midfield. So when they don't play in very similar roles and they don't even play very similar styles, it's very hard to compare them and it's very unfair. I think Foden is probably a technically better player, but that doesn't mean anything. Football's world-class ability is not about technical ability, it's about consistency and ruthlessness and keep being able to be at the top of the game. There's lots of players that have no technical ability and have done a lot in their career. It doesn't mean all of that, and he was born with it. That's natural ability, and it's not always based on these judgments. And it is frustrating because it does feel like the goalposts are always moved for people like Saka. I always thought Saka was a shoe-in for this role for a world-class player. You can have arguments about other players for Arsenal, but I think Saka, to us and to everyone that watches him week in, week out, I'm not seeing many players do what he does consistently. As a right winger as well, the only real person that keeps up with his output consistently is Salah. Season we've seen the likes of Sane also reach that levels, but it's only a select few. It's not like consistent amount of people in his position. And I know he's 22, he's so young and he's got so much potential in the future to go, and he could get even better. And I think his goals and assists per season are going to get better, and I think his performances will when the team gets better as well. Even this year, which is an off year for him, he's got 26 goal contributions in all competitions. He's a brilliant player and a great servant of the Arsenal Football Club. Coming from Hell End, I couldn't be more proud of a player to be in our team. An England starter as well. That's why I personally think Bukayo Saka is world class, but it always depends on what you think the world class metric is. But if you're comparing him to Foden, he has done more and he is a better player than Phil Foden in every way. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate your view today. Let me know how good you think Saka is, and if you like this video, please like and subscribe. And I'd recommend going to watch my video yesterday where I talk about Nico Williams potentially joining Arsenal and why we should buy him. Thank you for watching.